Welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here because we're looking at something that affects literally every single business, yet is so often completely misunderstood. Today, we're going to completely reframe how you think about payroll in India. We are moving away from the old idea that payroll is just a simple administrative math task, crunching a few numbers and cutting paychecks. Instead, as we'll see, it is a high-stakes, highly complex operational engine that powers your entire workforce. If you've ever felt the absolute stress of month-end processing, you're going to find this incredibly revealing.
Listen to the reality of this landscape for a second. Miss any of them, and the penalties arrive not as warnings but as interest notices, inspection orders, or challan discrepancies. That perfectly captures the dramatic, unforgiving reality of statutory deadlines in India. There are no friendly taps on the shoulder if you make a mistake. There's only immediate regulatory action. It's this reality that creates a quiet dread for HR and finance teams everywhere, month after month.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We've synthesized this chaotic landscape into a clear, easy-to-digest roadmap. Today we'll cover the payroll compliance illusion, the 3 statutory pillars, how compliance breaks down, what outsourcing actually delivers, and finally, evaluating an outsourcing partner.
Section 1, the payroll compliance illusion. Let's shatter a myth right out of the gate.
When we talk about payroll compliance, we are definitely not talking about basic accounting. We're talking about a sustained, month-on-month statutory commitment. It touches literally every employee on your rolls. It's fraught with strict deadlines, highly specific formats, and government portals that absolutely must be updated without fail. The reality is that the regulatory surface area in India is simply too wide, and the rules are far too intricate for a small in-house team to cover accurately as a company scales up. It's not for lack of effort, it's just a matter of sheer operational volume.
Moving on to Section 2, the 3 statutory pillars. Let's actually lift the hood and look at the heavy machinery making all of this run.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what your teams juggle every single month. You've got EPF with its complex 12% employer-employee splits and pension caps. You have ESIC demanding rapid deposits by the 15th, and then TDS, which is dynamically shifting based on individual tax regimes and requiring quarterly Form 24Q filings. It's a massive, unforgiving web of moving parts.
But it's not just the math, right? It's the timeline. It's an absolutely relentless clock. On day 0, your employee joins. By day 10, an ESIC insurance person or IP number must be assigned. By day 30, a UAN for Provident Fund must be assigned and KYC seeded. Missing that 10-day ESIC window is a massive tripwire. If an unregistered employee has a medical emergency on day 12, the employer faces huge liability for those medical claims simply because the paperwork was 2 days late. The clock never stops ticking.
Which brings us to Section 3, how compliance breaks down. Because in-house setups don't usually fail due to incompetence. They fail because standard company growth causes this manual engine to overheat. Now, what's really interesting here is this specific threshold, 21,000 rupees gross per month. This is the ESIC eligibility cutoff, and it is a classic tripwire. Once an employee's salary crosses this mark, say because of a mid-year raise, the ESIC contributions don't just magically stop. They legally must continue through the end of that specific contribution period. Self-managed payroll setups rarely track this correctly, which instantly exposes the company to compliance gaps. Then we have another crucial number, 15,000 rupees. This is the EPF pensionable wage ceiling. A massive point of failure for growing companies is wage definition errors. The government historically scrutinizes whether employers calculate EPF contributions just on basic salary or if other allowances should have been included. If you misinterpret this 15,000 rupee ceiling and your wage definitions are wrong, you are highly exposed to retrospective financial demands from the EPFO. And trust me, they have an incredibly long memory.
And then, of course, there's the dreaded February TDS compression. Since TDS is dynamically calculated on projected annual income, what happens when employees forget to finalize their investment declarations, or they procrastinate until March? Well, it leaves a massive tax shortfall that suddenly has to be painfully compressed and deducted from their paychecks in the last 2 months of the financial year. It leads to very unhappy employees and a deeply stressed HR department.
Ultimately, it's completely normal business activities that break in-house compliance. You go through a period of bulk hiring, and it totally overloads your manual capacity. You open a new office or expand to a new location, and resources get distracted.
Mass onboarding happens, and suddenly those strict 10-day and 30-day legal windows for ESIC and EPF get completely missed. The sheer volume simply overwhelms the people trying to process it all manually. Section 4. What outsourcing actually delivers. This is where we resolve the tension. Strategic outsourcing shouldn't be viewed merely as a cost-saving tool, but rather as a vital structural advantage for your business.
So the crucial point to understand here is this division of labor. Side A, statutory liability. This stays strictly with you, the registered employer. The EPFO, ESIC, and income tax departments will always address enforcement notices to your company. But Side B, the operational grind, the calculations, verification, challan generation, and portal submissions, that shifts entirely to the outsourcing partner. Because liability doesn't shift, this operational transfer has to be absolutely flawless.
How do serious partners achieve that flawless transfer? Contrast the chaotic, reactive nature of in-house processing with this structured approach. Serious outsourcing partners don't wait until the 15th to file. Step 1 is setting an internal processing cutoff around day 12. Step 2 is using those buffer days to absorb inevitable bank delays and government portal crashes. Step 3 is executing a flawless statutory filing by the 15th. They literally build in a buffer to guarantee your compliance. When you have that kind of partner, the relief is immediate. You get contribution accuracy based on verified payroll data every single cycle. You have dynamic TDS projections handling those dreaded Form 12BB cross-checks. Crucially, you get retrievable audit trails, so when a Section 7A inquiry eventually arrives, your records are instantly ready. And looking ahead, a great partner absorbs massive regulatory shocks, like the 4 labor codes effective in November 2025, completely removing that interpretive burden and operational headache from your plate.
Let's move to Section 5, evaluating an outsourcing partner. If you're ready to make this shift, how do you actually choose the right one?
Here is a highly practical, non-negotiable checklist for you. Number 1, they must operate on company-owned portal credentials. Those EPFO and ESIC registrations belong to you, not the vendor. Number 2, your contract must include penalty absorption provisions for any errors directly attributable to the provider. Number 3, they must be able to demonstrate on-demand audit readiness, not just at year-end, but whenever you or the government comes asking.
And this is exactly where a specialized provider like PaySquare steps in as the ideal structural solution. They provide accurate, deadline-driven compliance management. They're built specifically to handle these cycles across different states and through complex regulatory changes every single month, without missing a beat. By taking over the operational grind, PaySquare allows your HR and finance teams to step away from data entry and focus entirely on the high-judgment work that actually drives your business forward. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to really challenge how you view your current setup. As we've established, your statutory liability never actually shifts. So, shouldn't you ensure that the hands operating the machinery actually have the dedicated bandwidth and expertise to run it flawlessly? Think about your own in-house capacity right now, especially as you plan for future growth. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer on India's payroll compliance, and I highly encourage you to take a closer look at your own operational engine today.